You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com. And now, it's time for the show that breaks down the options market from unusual activity alerts to market analysis, strategy overviews, listener questions, and much more. If it involves puts and calls, then our all-star panel will break it down. It's time to hit the Option Block with your host, Mark Longo from the Options Insider Media Group and co-hosts, Uncle Mike Tosaw from St. Charles Wealth Management, along with Mark the Greasy Meatball Sebastian and Andrew the Rock Lobster Giovinazzi from OptionPit.com. And now, get ready to hit the Option Block.
All right, everybody. That music means we are back. It is Monday. Time to rock out on another brand new trading week here on the old Options Insider Radio Network. My name, of course, Mark Longo. Hope you had a good weekend. Hope you're ready to rock out with some fun. Remember, if you want the party to extend, you want to go into some awesome pro Q&As, you want to get some options oddities, you want to get live access to everything we're doing, you want to get your name in the hat for the coming up quick March Pro Trading Crate. Only one place to go. theoptionsinsider.com/pro. I'll get your name in the hat for all of that fun stuff past the velvet rope. Get you behind the scenes for the official after party of Volviews, known as Oddities. Man, that's been a fun one of late as well. A lot of fun going on there on the Pro. Check it out. I think you'll have a good time, and we will have a good time on the Monday kickoff show, as we always do, because we like to kick things off with a little bit of 80s trivia challenge. Joining me in the red corner as the returning champion, the uncleest of Mikes, Mr. Uncle Mike Tosaw from St. Charles Wealth Management, and the challenger holding down the blue corner, the rockingest of lobsters, Mr. Andrew Giovinazzi from OptionPit.com. So far, not having a good showing in our trivia challenge for 2025. So far, he is third in a two-man race, so we'll see. We'll see if he can make it up. 80s Trivia Challenge. Here we go. All right, looks like our chat is already taking bets on whether Rock Lobster will actually get anything right today or not. All right, Mr. Rock Lobster, as the current loser in our ongoing 80s Trivia Challenge, you get the pride of place of choosing the color for today's 80s Trivia Challenge. So, Mr. Rock Lobster, what color shall you choose, sir?
I think we're going to go green today.
Green. Okay, so that is the science and nature category, I do.
Yep, science and nature.
All right, everyone get your hands on your buzzers. You folks listening live, listening after the fact, get your hands on your own buzzers, whatever you're rocking. If you're driving, maybe pull over to the side of the road. We don't want you getting in an accident. All right, here we go. Green. Very interesting. What did Archimedes say upon discovering the principle of buoyancy in his bath? I have an idea on this one. I shall look. Oh, I was right. Look at that. Oh, you buzzed. All right, go for it.
I'm going to say Eureka.
Yes! Rock Lobster. All right, 1 point for Archimedes. Who would have guessed it?
Wow.
With any scientific discovery, you have to go with Eureka, right?
I think kind of like at the end of any biblical text, just guess amen. I think those are equivalent.
We've learned
guesses.
a couple of good rules of life here on the show the last couple of weeks. Any biblical guess amen. And any scientific discovery, you guess Eureka. Yes, that is the answer. We also had ones on the card today. Who played Lois Lane, the 1978 Superman? That would have been Margot Kidder. All sorts of fun ones.
Got that.
You would have got that. Well, Rock Lobster, you would have come out of the gate swinging this week. How about you folks, listeners? Were you out there? Are they suggesting?
Well, am I beating Passarelli yet?
I think with that, I think you are ahead of him now. He has 1 point. I do believe you have 1.5 points. I'll have to check, but yes.
Well, at least I'm second in the two-man race.
Yes, you're no longer third in the two-man race as we keep rolling into the trading block.
It's time to break down the latest topics, trades, and trends in the world of options. It's time for the trading block.
All right, everybody, welcome to the trading block, the portion of the show where we break down what the heck is trading out there. Looks like our chat was suggesting woodworking themed trivia for you, Mr. Rock Lobster. So I guess they're trying to get you over the hump, but you didn't need it. You got it with Archimedes, nonetheless, listeners. And hopefully you were dialed in for an Uncle Mike start to the week, because that's exactly what we got. It looks like maybe some breathing, some wiggle room, a little bit of détente on the trade war front, enough to send the markets into a bit of a tizzy today. S&P up over about 1.5% right now. Let's see, how high did we get intraday? Looks like we got about 10 handles higher, 57.65, hanging out right around 57 double right now. Still up over 1.5% right now in the S&P, so strongly green. We were just threatening 5,500 not that long ago, listeners. So what did you get to 5,510 somewhere in that ballpark, and then before bouncing. So, and then just on the Thursday show, we were talking about folks paying $13, $11, $14 for the 5,700 calls expiring that day. Unfortunately, they went to die that day. But if you had them in your back pocket today, you're obviously a happy camper. The Dow up 1.2%, the Nasdaq up over 2%, 2.01% right now. So a hot start out of the gate for the markets. Now, we all know, we've seen this movie a few times now. We all know it could be a head fake, and by the end of the show, we could be back south of 5,700 quite easily, or we could continue the rally, or we could hang out here. It's one of those markets. Who knows? What are they going to tweet next, right? What trade war are they going to pick a fight? What country are they going to pick a fight with next? I guess that's what everyone's waiting for out there. But right now, green taking it. Vol continuing to come in, 18.25 in VIX cash. Puts it down 2 points from the Thursday show. Hopefully you got a nice bunch of a little bit of vol downside in your back pocket. You know, when VIX is soaring, when UVIX is north of a 50 handle, you got to put a little bit in your back pocket for a rainy day. Hopefully you did. If you've been listening to shows like Oddities and others, you know we've been having some fun to the vol downside. By the way, for all of our pro members, I did get my fill finally today. Squeezed me for a long time on UVIX. That is the downside of trading any sort of multi-leg strategy in a UVIX. They're going to make you pay on the other side. But I got out finally. But yes, they make you wait. So fun times. Hopefully liquidity will pick up. But we shall see. You want to hear what we're talking about? Head on over to the pro listeners. And then, of course, VVIX at an 84, down a whopping 10 points from where we were this time on the Thursday show. So a lot to unpack. It is a rare moment when I get to introduce him as the winner of the trivia challenge. So let's go there now. Mr. Rock Lobster, what's catching your eye in an Uncle Mike type of day, sir?
I believe our fearless leader is talking nice somehow about tariffs today. Or was it this weekend? It wasn't, and you know, it was funny. Mark was mentioning something. Wasn't there a bunch of option contracts that expired on Friday? Wasn't there like massive triple witching, you know?
A little bit, a few contracts.
Like, you know, whatever, a few gajillion contracts. Like, now he could have mentioned this on Friday, right? And probably sent everything just because the sentiment on Friday, like morning, I believe, was kind of, you know, when we were at, I even remember for vol views, I think I picked like what, 1964, 1926 or something, the exact same volatility for the week. Figuring, you know, we got this April 2nd. He's going to decide who gets the tariffs, who doesn't. But at this point, it looks like, okay, this is what they're going to be. And now they seem to be walked back somewhat. So the market at least from, I'm just going to guess from the tariff point of view, if this is correct to think like this, but, from the tariff point, okay, they're out there. Market can see what they are, but we are trading 57.5 SPX, 574 or so SPY. But, stocks haven't we're not trading 6,000. So the tariff thing is one of the legs to the stool that got kicked out. I think, this deficit wrangling, the Doge wrangling, the spending wrangling, and all these things, in interest rates and things like that. So I think there was like 3 pillars. There was a government spending pillar, slowdown in GDP. There was how efficient actually Doge can be, was another, I think, pillar. And then the third was the tariff pillar. And we could sneak in there the relative valuations of the great 8, the big 8 tech companies that had absorbed so much of, that really is what pulled up the S&P 500 and the Qs over the last, 3 years, coming out of that bottom, kind of that interest rate bottom in 2022, October 2022. I'm just going to say we have a rally. It's a nice rally. It was looking kind of sad on Friday and we bounced. I think the market kind of ran out of reasons to sell off, but tariffs ain't the only reason we're down, I would say. They're not the only reason. So the higher valuations on some of those stocks, I think it might be a while till we get there. But again, I think it's a nice green day. It's a good bounce day. It is maybe the tariff threat maybe has run its course. Because also, you're seeing bond prices go up and yields go up today. And I don't know if this is kind of a flight to a risk on type trade where folks are selling their treasuries. Kind of feels like that. But again, you have an 18 volatility. Oh, and this is a Russell number. I believe one of his statistics, which of course he has a ton of, is VIX spends roughly half its time being below 18 and half its time being above 18. And I find it curious in the least that 18 or very close to 18 is where it's decided to settle after this news. So market very much sitting on the fence as of right now. It's a green day. It's a happy day, especially for Tesla owners, maybe up almost 10% today from the lows, or at least from Friday. A good day overall. But I'm just feeling here that maybe even though we have an April 2nd tariff date, I think the negative impacts of the tariffs, I think maybe in the short term are done. And we're going to need, good news from other places to make stocks go higher.
All right. Strangely optimistic from the Rock Lobster. Maybe he's basking in the glow, the afterglow of his rare trivia win. Not quite as dour as he usually is. Listeners, Mr. Uncle Mike, he's usually our ray of sunshine. He's also usually our winner of our trivia challenge, but not this week. Mr. Uncle Mike, sir, what's catching your eye out there in a very decidedly Uncle Mike type of day?
I don't know if these questions are very fair.
Oh, yeah? Why not?
I mean, I don't know. I think it's more fair when we do pro wrestling and obscure 80s football. Just my opinion on the matter.
They are the definition of fear. They are selected at random, sir.
Yeah, I don't know if I like that. I don't know if I like that. But I'll be a good sport. I'll play along, even though it's not really very fair. But because I really don't know a lot about that topic. So that's why it's probably not very fair, I don't think. But like I said, I'll be a good sport on it. Anyway, with markets today. So we have an up day, obviously. And what I'm curious to see is that I've been waiting for this during the year. And it seems like this is the first time that Trump 2.0 has done it. This was a very reoccurring theme in his first term, in that he would talk tough on tariffs and the markets would go down, and then that would be your buy signal. And then within a couple days, markets rally. And so when he first started talking tough on tariffs at his speech a couple months ago in front of the joint session of Congress, he said, there's going to be some pain for a while. And then, of course, we eventually went down 10% off of the all-time highs in the market. And then now he backs off on a little bit. And so it kind of makes you wonder if we're going to get this gift, if you will, the gift for traders, it seems like, if this is going to be the theme throughout his second term, and that if he'll do something to back down on them, talk really tough on them, back down on them, and then this could be our buy signal. So next time he talks tough on tariffs, I'm going to consider doing some type of a short-term bullish position, because if that's why this market's up today, then I would love to see it do what it did from a trader's point of view back during Trump 1.0. In terms of some things that are happening today, like Andrew said, bonds are down a little bit today. Our yields are up. So we have some sellers in the bonds and buyers in stocks. We are flat in the land of silver. We're down slightly in the land of gold. Like what Mark said, the most notable name that I have on my screen is Tesla, up almost 10% on the day. And a lot of the things that were going down within the FANGs and the Mag 7s, we're getting some movement to the upside today. We have Google up 1.8% on the day. We have Meta up almost 3% on the day. We have NVIDIA up over 3% on the day. So we definitely have a lot of things going on, and the stocks that were dragging us down today are bringing us up. And that can be an exciting thing for the bulls out there. In terms of another sector that we're keeping an eye on at RCM, the financial sector, we do have JP Morgan up almost 2% on the day. Now, JP Morgan was in the 260s at one point. We're back in the 240s, but it has climbed up from the murky mud areas with which it was last week and a little bit the week before. So we do have that. Of course, Taiwan Semiconductors, another name, that's up almost 3% on the day. The only thing that I think is really stopping this market from going to the stratosphere today anyway, or one of the things I should say, Apple. Apple's up only 99 cents on the day, up 0.4%. And Apple is still a relevant enough stock to where it's difficult to have a major update without a major update in Apple. So a lot happening today, a lot to sink our teeth into, if you will, and that's what I'm seeing.
All right, let's see what we're seeing out here in the realm of the world of options. Let's kick things off in VIX land, listeners. I'm just looking here to see what we got cooking in. It looks like a bit of a VIX spread, just trying to parse all the legs. It's a funky one, but today, listeners, are the markets indeed looking hot out of the gate? The answer is kind of yeah. I mean, it depends where you're looking, but definitely looking spicy on the volume front. And usually, a lot of green on the screen doesn't translate into a ton of volume. Also, a lot of unidirectional movement in the market doesn't always translate into the spiciest of days. But we're seeing some action, even in VIX. VIX 590 today, so almost 600K. So pretty close to 50% of its ADV, which is 1.12 million right now. So that ADV still looking frothy. What was distracting me there earlier looks like the big dog today are about 40,000 of the June 20s in VIX. They traded for 224, but it doesn't look like it's straight up just buying June 20s. It is a spread. Looks like it's against the May 20s. Went up 10,000 times. And then also we have the AUG 20s going up 17,000 times. So 30,000 by 17,000 by 10,000. That's a funky, if it is a calendar, it's a ratio calendar. That's a funky one as well. So I'll need to dig in a little bit more there. But straight up June 20s, 224 listeners. Are you a fan of those bad boys? Or is that a little bit too rich for your blood? Number 2 on our list, even though number 1 on a volume front, is good old SPY, 6 million contracts exactly as we're coming into this segment. That's pretty hot. Usually 4 1/4, 4 1/3. So things are looking robust. The ADV 11.1 million. So I'm guessing we're probably gonna have to adjust north. That expectation of volume now as this ADV continues to skyrocket north of 10, now north of 11 million. The S, same deal, 2.12 million contracts on the tape out there today. The ADV, 3.95 million out there. So interesting paper on the tape today. Let's just do it. Why not? Because we're gluttons for punishment. Top 20. Do you think we're 20 for 20 listeners? The answer is yes. We are a mighty 20 for 20. The big dog today, not the 5700s, but 5770s. Nearly 54,000 of those bad boys have gone up today. Let's see. What was a 5770 trading for today? It's like it traded as high as $4.20 and as low as, looks like about a buck 53. Actually, take it back. Traded 680 at one point this morning when the S&P was 57.66. That makes sense. They were almost in the money at that point. So someone bought the top, but we'll see. Maybe it's not the top. Maybe it's just the pause before the next leg up. Either way, 20 for 20 yet again in the top 20 of the SPX. Small caps, IWM, also looking hot, also looking spicy. 1.17 million contracts on the tape for good old small caps. The ADV 1 3/4, so definitely on the way to that. And the Qs saying, hold my beer, don't forget about me. 2.5 million contracts exactly on the tape. The ADV 5 1/3 million. So that ADV is actually looking pretty spicy as well. So they actually got to kick it into gear a little more just to get up there, but close to halfway. Not bad. Respectable, all things considered, out there in the land of the Qs. Now, the question you all obviously have, is it a respectable day in the single names? The answer is yes. Cost you $324. We'll actually extend it to a top 11, just for interest's sake today, because number 11 is Hood, even though it actually cost you $324 to break into the top 10. So that's getting pretty darn near respectable. Anything over $350, I think, is definitely respectable. $324, not bad. Actually, top 11 gets us to $304, which is Robinhood having a spicy day today. 48 1/4 up, 385, or nearly 9% today. That's funny because they've been getting beat up pretty badly so far this year, really. Down last week, let's see how low did they get? They got as low as 39.20. This move today helps because now they're up $8 year to date. They were last week. They were pretty much, actually, they got to 35.63 on March 10th, so they were actually down on the year. So, yeah, they've had an SEC fine again. All sorts of things going on in Robinhood land. Obviously, their crypto holdings turn into the dark side. But Robinhood number 11 today, listeners, 304 on the tape. So if you're trading a little Hood, if you were maybe selling puts on that 40 strike, you're looking pretty good today. But number 10, our official kickoff, listeners, good old SMCI, coming back down 41.84, off about $0.33 or about $0.75%. This one's had a topsy-turvy year, but it is net up $12.50, 41%, even though its high was 60 1/4, so about 18 handles below that right now, but still impressive stuff out there. Not quite as low as it's gotten for the year as well. It got as low as 26.85, so a wild year already for number 10, super micro computer, looking a little bit more micro today, but not much. Number 9, Meta, one of the few, maybe the only of the Magnificent Seven that's kind of been doing all right so far this year. Yeah, they're up 2.5%. That doesn't sound like much, but compared to the rest of the Magnificent Seven, that's kind of been taken to the woodshed. That's actually pretty good. 615.5 today, up nearly 20 handles, or a little over 3, about 3.2%. What's 19 handles amongst friends, listeners? Man, Meta, number 9, 330 on the tape. Number 8, the Monster. Is it monstrous today? Let's find. By the way, if you like M tech names, usually we got a nice A strip for you. Today, it's a bit of an M strip followed by an A strip. So we got double strips for you today. Number 9 was Meta. Number 8 is the Monster, aka MicroStrategy. Looking a little bit less micro today. 328.08, up 24.08, or about 8% today. So popping hard out there today. Bitcoin giveth, Bitcoin taketh away. Today it is giving again. Number 8, the Monster. If you want more about all that fun, stay tuned for the Crypto Rundown. I'll be joined by our good buddy, Mr. Tony Sleeve. I haven't talked about him in a while. He's got a lot of cool things, cool irons in the fire in the crypto realm that he wants to talk about. So look forward to that coming up a little bit later on the Crypto Rundown. Number 8, the Monster. Number 7, keeping the M tech strip, or just the M strip in general, alive. It's Mara. 14.19 for number 7, 373 on the tape. This name has been languishing for a while. Got down to 12.14 just on Friday. So popping hard today, up to about 14.17 today. So it's up about $1.50 or $1.80 today, nearly 15%. So, man, Mara having quite the rampage over the last 48 hours out there. Mara number 7, 373. Number 6, now to the A tech strip we go. It's the Amazonians, number 6, 201.94, up about 5 3/4 or nearly 3% today for the Amazonians. 471 on the tape. Number 5, it's the Fruit Company, 483. Uncle Mike just talking about them. 219.38, up about $1.11 or 0.5%. But unlike our pal Meta, off 25 handles or about 10% on the year so far. So pretty rough. And of course, if you take them down to 209 where they were last week, then they were down another 10 handles, so nearly $35. So a rough one out there for the Fruit Company listeners. All right. Number 4, keeping the tech strip alive. So we have M strip followed by an A strip. How wild is that? Number 4, listeners, AMD, 608 on the tape, 113.50, up $7 pretty much exactly today, or about 6.5%. Good for 608 on the tape today. And the number 4 spot. Number 3, it's Palantir. Man, what a resurgence for this one. In the last 5 days, it was $82 last Tuesday. It is $95.65 today. My goodness. Up about almost $5, $4.70, about 5% today. So threatening that 100 level. So if you were selling 80 puts and maybe you were sweating last week, you're a happy camper. If you were buying upside, you're a happy camper. Number 3, Palantir, 609 on the tape today, listeners. Number 2, yes, number 2. Don't say that too often anymore. It's NVIDIA, 2.03 million, up 3 3/4, trading 121.5, a little over 3, about 3.25% today. And the big dog today, Tesla. Is it roaring back to life or just roaring? 273.5, up 45.5, or exactly 20%. That's over the past 5 days. If we go out to today, it's up $25 or about 10%. My goodness, this one has just been taken to the woodshed of late. We had people in our oddities and other pro stuff talking about, getting back to selling those Tesla catastrophe puts, getting decent premium for them not that long ago. So interesting stuff out here. Is Tesla fixed? People are still lamenting all the issues out there, stories about how Tesla owners getting, pennies for the dollar if they try to sell their used Teslas now. That market kind of cratering. All kinds of interesting stuff out there. People want, big investors want Musk to step down. He's dragging down the company. All sorts of craziness. Nonetheless, number 1, it is Tesla, listeners. 2.42 million contracts on the tape for the big dog out there. Let's see what else is lighting up our tape really quickly. We are coming into the tail end of earnings season. Nonetheless, there are some names you have heard of still to report. If you'd like a little bit of spice in your life, how about Tuesday? We got McCormick before the bell. And of course, the progenitor of the memes, GameStop after the bell. I said GameStop. GameStop. GameStop after the bell on Tuesday, listeners. Wednesday, you could maybe argue this was really the progenitor of the meme craze because that person left this name to go to GameStop this Chewy Wednesday before the bell and all the madness that followed. And then we've got Lululemon. They have sheer yoga pants infamy after the bell on Thursday. A little bit of Sparrow love on Thursday as well. And then Friday, we've got everyone's favorite Z-Space, because who doesn't love a little bit of Z-Space? Let's see really quickly what we've got coming up for you. We got GameStop tomorrow after the bell. Hot off the presses from our friends over there at Orats, because we like you. Right before showtime, you folks can sink your teeth into these over there on the website completely for free, theoptionsinsider.com. And then if you did that, you'd see that GameStop right now, they were at 24 3/4 when we ran this report. Let's just see, where are they hanging out right now? They're at 25.44, so they've rallied a bit since this morning when we ran these numbers. They were pricing in $2.67. In the past, they've moved about $3.50. So on the GameStop scale, which again is a crazy scale, that's actually kind of light juice, all things considered, which is kind of interesting. Lululemon, 27th after the bell, $322.62. They're pricing in $30.67. In the past, they've moved $27.36, so they're also pricing in. They're pricing in a wee bit extra juice out there, listeners. Is that merited? Are they about to have another sheer yoga pants disaster? I guess we'll find out, listeners, on the 27th. In terms of the season, we've seen most of the big names pop off at this point, and we're almost exactly in line with our long-term average. We're at 116 right now. The long-term average, 117%, listeners. So if you were thinking this was going to be the season where it all fell apart, not happening just yet. As we keep on rolling, you know what is happening, though, is a little bit of the odd block. So let's get to it.
It's time to break down the most interesting, unusual, and downright questionable options activity that's been identified by theoptionsinsider.com. It's time for the Odd Block.
All right, everybody, let's see what we've got. Let's see what we've got in store for you today. What is the Eye of Sauron fixing its fiery gaze upon today? I don't know, listeners. Are you feeling the knack? I'm feeling the knack, a.k.a. Northern Dynasty Minerals Limited, ticker symbol NAC. This is a newcomer, NAK, on the show and on the network right now, listeners, trading a whopping $1.20. If you're saying to yourself, man, that's a cheap one, it's up 30 cents today, or about 35%. So it was a lot cheaper just on Friday. So a wild time here in Northern Dynasty Minerals. I'm not sure which minerals they mine, but they are out of Vancouver, listeners. And let's see, has it been a tumultuous year? No, it's mostly been a banger year for the knack. I got the knack for the knack right now. They were 31 cents a year ago, so certainly puts this trade in perspective. You could have bought all the knack you wanted. You could have got all the knack you needed, listeners, a year ago for 31 cents. And you know what? It didn't do a heck of a lot. It was 31 cents still in October. So it was pretty much it was exactly a wasted year. And then it started to get some rumbling, started to tick up. And then something happened on November 6th, I forget what. And now we're up to 52 cents. And they gave some of it back. End of November, 44 cents. And they started ticking up again. February 10th, 76 cents. So they had doubled, looking pretty good. Then, fell out of bed again, back to about 58 cents, February 25th. Then they started rallying again. March 6th, 73 cents. Hanging out there for a while. And then, bam! Last 24 hours on the rampage, 71 cents. And now $1.20. Yeah, wow. Let's see, where did it close on Friday? It started ticking up towards the second half of the session on Friday. It closed around 89 cents, and obviously the big leg up today to $1.20. Happening out here. Earnings, is this a takeover? I don't see what's driving this flow. Listen, I'll have to go dig in a little bit and see. But what did we spot out here in our Eye of Sauron, listeners? Who's got the knack? Somebody came in this morning and they said, Nove 2s. Nove 2s, how are they? They're feeling the animal spirits. They got 25 cents at 40. They thought about it for a second, about half a second, and said, you know what, good sir? I will pay 40 cents. 7,373 times, because they are feeling it, listeners. They got the knack for the knack. You're getting a few earnings announcements at that point. The next one is going to be just in about a week, March 31st. So that'll be our first sign whether these are good. So clearly today's move is not an earnings-related move unless they pre-announced. By the way, they did buy the literal top at the time, the 52-week high, 121, when they bought these. So, yeah, they bought the calls expiring in November, listeners, for actually more money than you could have bought all the stock for just a year ago. Those trades tend not to work out, but every once in a while we see some of these momentum names, and they can be bangers. So I don't know, listeners. Do you have the knack for the knack? Are you feeling this, Mr. Rock Lobster, sir? Are you feeling the knack for the knack today, sir?
Well, one of my favorite things, of course, is this is a $1.20 stock. At least it is now. Before they bought the largesse of the November 2 calls for 40 cents. So again, I will always shake my head about, you can buy a call or you could buy the stock for the same price. I guess they want the leverage. The sad thing is even with the stock up 30% or 30 cents, they're not green on their calls. So I just have to invoke the Viceroy of many moons ago, and hopefully he's doing well. I'll just buy the stock for $1.20 and kind of, ride that one. So, but it's good to see a mineral stock going up lately.
But Mr. Rock Lobster, you can only buy a third as much of the stock. What are you doing?
I guess so. Well, you can buy the 1.5. Well, hold it. Oh, you know what? These are the Nove. Oh, the Nove 2s. Oh, yeah, they're still offered. They're still offered. So for whatever reason, they like this company. There's a volume on every call strike in the name. So that's, you don't see that very often. Every single call strike has volume. And since the volatility is up around 30 points in May and 30 points in August and 70 points in April, there must be something special going on here. Mineral development based in Vancouver. What do they own? They got they got 1,840 mineral claims in Southwest Alaska. Interesting. I don't know what it's, I guess gold, copper, maybe a couple of rare earth thingies. Interesting. Northern Dynasty Minerals Limited. So maybe somebody knows something here, but they have yet, of course, to have any revenue, but that doesn't stop any company from being a public company these days.
It does not. I'm still looking to see, outside of these big options buys, what's moving the stock out there today. Are you folks down? You folks in the chat down for a little bit of knack? Maybe we'll put it out to our audience. Maybe a fun flash poll. Are you feeling the knack for knack listeners? Nove 2s, 40 cents. I don't know. I don't know if I love this. Do you like it better as a covered call? Buy the stock for $1.20, sell the Nove 2s, 40 cents. Now you're taking 30% right off the top. Is that juicy? I don't know. I'll leave it up to you then, listeners. As I keep rolling out here, our producers will get working on that flash poll. We'll see what you folks have to say. Let's go out to Truist Financial Corp. Let's shift gears entirely. This is a bank holding firm out of Charlotte, Overby territory down there. Ticker symbol TFC. $42, pretty much exactly, up about 60 cents today, or about 1.5%. So a decent little day out here for Truist. Looks like Morgan and some other analysts are adjusting their price targets, raising them a little bit from 50 to 56. So there you go. Getting a little bit of upside action. On the year, let's see, it's been a good upside year as well. 37.60 a year ago. So they're up about $4.50 or almost 12% on the year. They sold off to $35, pretty much even back in June of last year. And they've rallied a few times to about 48. They hit it in November of last year before selling off again. And then back in February, they got up to about 48.5 before selling off again. Just last week, they got down to 39.5. So they have come off a wee bit. So if you like them, like this chart, maybe you think they're swinging up. Seems like somebody maybe thinks they're in the middle of the next leg up, because somebody came in this morning. They said TFC 42 halves, how are they? They got 111 at 124. They said, you know what? I think I'll pay $1.20 for these bad boys. It's about 6,000 of them they traded, 5,999. It's a 30 vol, if you are wondering. The stock was slightly higher, about a dime higher when they put these up, but all things considered, no big deal. And interestingly enough, we've seen a lot of prints lately where they're not really getting the earnings in them when they're buying the premium. This time they are. Earnings are the day before expiration. That's kind of interesting. So that'll make the final 24 hours of this options life pretty wild. So we'll stay tuned for these, see how they look. By the way, they liked them so much they came back. They did a total of 11,000 on the day here. Let's just look here really quickly and see what other prices. Yeah, they've done still about total of 11,000 on the day. That big block was 6,000. They did 2,000 a few seconds before it. And that market was 109 at 122. They paid $1.20 again. So they were slowly bidding this market up. Looks like throughout the morning here. They got a market of 114 at 114 a few seconds before that. They paid 115. So they were lifting that market the entire time. So they were definitely buying these, listeners. Again, a total of about 11,000 on the day. Mr. Rock Lobster, sir, are you a fan of some calls in Truist Financial?
You know, is this one of these companies where they change the name from something else? Like, I hear that like Truist Financial, they must have been something before, you know?
They have subsidiaries including Lightstream and Truist Securities.
Yeah, I know. I just they always seem to come up with these like
this was SunTrust and BB&T. They merged together.
Oh, so it was like SunTrust Bank, which was what? That was a Southern brand for 100 years, and then they and then they merged with somebody else and called it a nice milk toasty blah name like Truist. I wonder how much they paid for that. Sorry, I digress. Somebody is buying some calls. And as I recall, there wasn't Tosaw talking about JP Morgan. Maybe, just maybe, just saying, maybe some folks are looking for some bank, a little bank action. I don't hate this as a trade. I think they're picking. They got about a month to go. They're going to pick up the bank earnings. And this is one of those where I think, I don't know, it'd be interesting to hear what Tosaw said, but like in the last 3 months, 2 months maybe, I don't know, 30 days, 45 days, every company like have been poo-pooing the guidance. You cannot hear one company that's like their guidance like, oh, we are rosy bullish for 2025. They're like the tariffs and the confusion, and they're all, I mean, they are selling it so far down the river. Anyway, I find that. So I think this is, again, it's not passing our one-day sniff test, but I don't think this is a bad purchase. Trying to kind of ride the earnings date and all that kind of stuff. So I don't hate these. I don't hate these calls. My guess is they're probably going to trade higher at some point between now and you can pick up the earnings. You pick up you pick up the earnings, you got a full cycle left, and the stocks got kind of smashed and all this. Not a bad purchase, I don't think. Price is right, too, for $1.
The Rock Lobster likes them. Do you like them, listeners? Are you feeling the love? It's going to be an interesting run. That last 24 hours is going to be quite the roller coaster. Strap in if you're trading these, listeners. As we get out of here with this final one, let's go out to the WW, not the WWE, but the WWW, a.k.a. Wolverine Worldwide, a.k.a. the maker of all those shoes out there. 1440, up about 63 cents. We have talked about this one before, but it's been quite some time. I'll have to go see the last time we chatted about Wolverine. It's up about 4.5% today. On the year, it's been a good year. 1082 a year ago, so up about 360 or about 33%. Not bad at all. They had a nice leg up back, during the election, looks like. They were $15.50 on November 4th. And they shot up to 22 1/3 on November 11th. They kept going up to their 52-week high of about 24.64 right around early December. hung out there until January 30th, and they kind of fell right back down. 13.43 is where they were about a little over a week ago, and now they're up about a buck, 14.40. So it's been an interesting run. They popped up hard right around the election time and hung out there for a couple of months, and then came right back down the other side out there, which is kind of interesting as well. Let's see what caught our eye out here, listeners. Again, somebody feeling a little bit of the upside here in good old WWW. They said June 15s, how are they? They got $1.10 at $1.30. They said, I'll pay $1.27, good sir. 2,250 times. Stock was 14.25, so they're getting a little bit of a lift in the stock working in their favor. They do get earnings. Earnings are on May 7th, so that's a feather in their cap. Looking for a little bit of return to the upside in footwear, Mr. Rock Lobster. Are you down for this?
Yeah, you know what? This is another one where I think the market is going to bounce a little here. If the tariff thing, is like, okay, we had the bad news and now it's, I think it ain't getting worse. And generally, so when the news ain't getting worse and it appears that government's doing something, so I think like work Wolverine, is this like the Wolverine boots? It certainly is. It certainly is. So Sweaty Betty activewear. I believe this is that. That's why you always pick this one. You like that activewear line. I think you closetly like wearing that. I
may or may not be wearing it right now. You don't know.
That currently for the show. I'll have to ask the producer really what's going on. But I don't think this is a bad purchase. Again, you're buying June cycle, 3 months out. Calls were only $1.27 and they're up money already today. So it's hard to, it has everything you want in a cheap call. Plus the stock in February was in the mid 20s. So I'm just saying it's hard to find a cheaper option relative price than this. Certainly considering how the thing has moved over the last month or so.
Interesting.
I like it. This is probably my favorite of the bunch.
This is your favorite. A little bit of WW. Yep. Andrew's down. He's going to buy him right after the show. He's all in on these. Speaking of being all in or not, looks like our pro folks are not in on the Knack. No love. Kind of unanimous no love for the Knack. You're not feeling those 40-cent calls in the Knack right now, listeners. Interesting. Let's see if the rest of our audience agrees. And right now, our flash poll just going live a few minutes ago. Our audience is kind of split there. 40% want to buy those calls. 20% rather buy the stock, and 40% just not interested. No love for the covered call or just selling the call. So that's kind of interesting. No one wants to buy the stock and then sell that call for 40 cents, which is kind of interesting as well. So our chat says nay. The audience is split. Make your voice heard over there, listeners. At Options is the place to go. As we keep on going, it's Monday. It's time for the strategy block.
It's time to dispense options, wit, wisdom, and education. It's time for the Strategy Block.
All right, Mr. Uncle Mike, the floor is yours, sir. What do you want to say about Archimedes?
Eureka. Why don't I say that? I want to talk today about the year of the collar with which we have in 2025, my humble opinion. And I want to talk about a variation of the collar. Now, a typical collar is that you own a stock and you sell a covered call a little bit above where the stock is. So, for example, if you were to own a stock that's trading at $80 a share, you could sell the 85 call. And with the premium you collect, you could immediately buy a 75 put a lot of times for a similar price. And by doing that, you're limiting your upside, of course, to $5, but you're also limiting your downside to $5. That can be of benefit if you think the markets are kind of crazy and you want to collar your stock. Obviously, it can be of detriment if the stock continues to go up rapidly. I want to talk today about a modification that we do sometimes when you don't necessarily have a fear of the stock going belly up, but you do want to have a little bit of something in place in case the stock has a pullback. And that leads me to the old knockout collar. Knockout collar is similar to a collar from the top side in that you still sell a covered call out of the money slightly. So in the example with which I'm using, we're still going to buy the stock, sell the 85 covered call. Only now with the premium, instead of buying the 75 put, we're not concerned with the stock going to zero. We're a little bit more concerned with it going from, say, 80 down to 73 or 74 or something like that during the time frame, and you can use whatever time frame you like for this. So instead of buying the 75 put, oftentimes for a similar amount of money, we can buy a put spread, but a little bit closer to being at the money. So instead of buying the 75 put spread, the 75 put, we're going to buy the 80-75 put spread. So we will buy the 80 put, but since the 85 call doesn't quite give us enough money to just buy that, we're going to lessen the price a little bit and sell the 75 put. So our overall position is that we'll be long the stock, selling a covered call, and then with the premium we collected from the covered call, we're just going to buy a good old-fashioned vertical put spread, the 80-75. Now, what I like about this trade is that it gives you immediate protection. That's the good part. That's the great part. If we have a little bit of a pullback in the stock from 80 to 85, you lose absolutely nothing. However, the bad part is if the stock continues to go lower and lower and lower, anything past 75 to the downside, you will not have protection for, and it will be just like owning the stock. Once again, this is just another modification on the collar in general, and it gives you the ability to protect against a minor pullback, meaning you think the stock's just going to pull back a little bit, or you're concerned with it pulling back a little bit. But it doesn't give you full downside protection. You're better off if you get that slight pullback, but if the stock does go to heck in a handbasket, then you are not going to be protected. It's just a different flavor and another way to customize risk. That's what options are all about, customizing risk and leverage. And that is the strategy block for today.
All right, and we're all about going around the block.
It's time to tell you what we'll be watching on our trading screens until the next episode. It's time for Around the Block.
All right, let's do it, listeners. Tell you what we're keeping an eye on for the rest of the week until our Thursday show. And let's see, as we're coming into the end of the show, yeah, markets are pretty close to where they were at the start of the show. S&P off slightly. It's below 1.5% now to the upside, about 1.48%. No big whoop, 1.1% for the Dow and 1.95% for the NASDAQ. So the sell-off coming back down a little bit. We're at about exactly 57.5 now in the S&P, so we'll see how that holds up. VIX cash ever so slightly below the 18 handle at a 17.96. So mostly the same, slightly lower than we were at the start of the show. That said, Mr. Rock Lobster, sir, what are you keeping an eye on until our next episode?
Well, we're going to see if we hear any more tariff talk. We do have the Fed's favorite inflation gauge, which I'm going to guess is going to come in a little light this time. And basically, noise out of the administration, maybe some positive news somewhere. But that's kind of it, because we're kind of in this quiet period till the earnings are coming. And you can add it to your earnings calendar, Chewy, CHWY, of that stock dog fame, pet company. March 26th, I believe, is the earnings. So I'm looking for Chewy earnings. It's a stock I like. I own a little bit of.
Yes, Chewy on Wednesday before the bell, listeners. So keep your eyes on that one. Mr. Uncle Mike, sir, what are you keeping an eye on until your next appearance?
Well, I'm watching to see if we can get another 100 points or so and get back to being positive on the year. What's interesting right now is that we kind of bounced off the 10% pullback off the all-time high, and we are approaching the end of a quarter, so we could be getting a little bit of window dressing this week. So I'm going to be watching that to see if we get the window dressing to where we are positive on the year. And large fund managers want to be in some of the fancy stocks that took the market up as high as it has. That's what I'm watching.
All right, and that music means we are not watching anymore, at least on this show. But before we go, let's go around the horn, see what everyone has cooking that might interest you, Mr. Rock Lobster, sir. If folks want more Rock Lobster goodness, where should they go? What should they do?
Yeah, go to optionpit.com and just click my handsome picture, any one of my products, and learn to trade this volatile market. We've been doing it for 14 years now.
OP is the place to go, optionpit.com. To learn more.
Eureka,
yes. A callback.
Adios.
If you will. He's excited. He got his first point in a while. First legit point in a while. He's pretty giddy. Can he keep it up next week? I guess we'll find out. And Mr. Uncle Mike, sir, you got to do some studying until the next Monday show. But in the meantime, where should folks go? Maybe if they want to help you prepare, sir.
Check out my website, stcharleswealth.com. I would love to have a conversation with any of our listeners on any topic, including scientific discoveries.
There you go. Talk scientific discoveries with the man, the myth, the uncleist of Mikes. Again, looking at our chat is not down for the knack, and our audience out there on the old Twitter now slightly moving 50%. Want to buy those calls. A third are not interested, and 16.7% would rather buy the stock. No love for the covered call yet, which is kind of interesting. A lot of love for our crypto rundown coming up in a little bit, so if you're hanging out in the pro, just stay tuned. A good buddy, Tony Saliba, joining us. Haven't chatted with him in a while. I see our chat is excited. Yeah, that should be fun. He's always got a bunch of interesting irons in the fire, including in the crypto realm, so we'll talk about all that fun. I think he's got some fun stuff going with the intersection of crypto and wine futures, I believe. So stay tuned for that. Should be a fun one. And then, of course, back again with our usual array of content throughout the week, listeners, including awesome pro Q&As. We got our buddy, the winner of our crystal ball contest for the year last year, Mr. Steve Sosnick. He actually managed to beat me. He was the only person on the network who beat me last year, so that was kind of fun. Steve joining us for a pro Q&A, so get those questions in now for tomorrow. Of course, if you want to join the pro, theoptionsinsider.com/pro. And then on Wednesday, of course, the old OBC, followed by the futures rundown. And then, of course, back again on Thursday, Flowmaster in hand, another episode of the Option Block. Stay safe out there, everybody.
You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.